The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was the size of a small moon, covered in lights that blinked like stars. Inside its great halls, hundreds of alien beings gathered for the most important meeting in the galaxy. This was where the Galactic Council made decisions that affected billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Commander Kang Wu sat in the visitor section, trying to look calm. His face had been changed by surgery to look like a Kepler alien. Green skin, forearms, and yellow eyes that glowed softly in the dim light. No one could tell he was human. No one knew that humans were supposed to be dead. 3 years ago, the galaxy received terrible news. A deadly disease had spread across Earth and all human colonies. Within months, every human was dead. At least that was what everyone believed. Kang Wu knew better. He had seen the truth with his own eyes. The great chamber was filled with noise as aliens talked in hundreds of different languages. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living metal. A few floated in tanks of green liquid. They all had one thing in common. They were alive, and humans were not. Ambassador Velthari walked to the speaking platform. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that sparkled under the lights. Her people, the Velthari, were known for being smart and peaceful. They had helped many younger species learn about space travel and technology. Everyone respected them. Fellow members of the Galactic Council, Velthari said, her voice clear and strong. Today we must deal with a sad but necessary task. We must officially remove humanity from our records. The chamber became quiet. Even though everyone knew this day would come, hearing it made it real. 3 years have passed since the Crimson Death destroyed the human species, Velthari continued. Our medical teams confirmed that no humans survived. Their worlds are empty. Their ships float dead in space. It is time to accept that humanity is extinct. Kang Wu's hands gripped his seat. He wanted to stand up and shout that she was lying. He wanted to tell everyone that thousands of humans were still alive, hiding in secret places across the galaxy. But he stayed quiet. His mission was to listen and learn, not to reveal himself. The human territories must be given to other species, Velthari said. We cannot let good worlds sit empty when so many need homes. The Velthari offer to take responsibility for the former human colonies. We will make sure they are used well. An alien that looked like a giant crab raised one of its claws. Why should the Velthari get the human worlds? Many species could use those resources. Velthari smiled, but Kang Wu noticed it did not reach her eyes. We have the ships and the knowledge to clean up the mess humans left behind. Their weapons, their technology, their cities full of disease. Someone must deal with these dangers. The Velthari will sacrifice our own comfort to protect the galaxy. Other aliens nodded. It sounded reasonable. The Velthari were known for helping others even when it cost them. But Kang Wu remembered what he had seen on the human colony of New Seoul. The cities were not full of disease. They were empty because the people had been taken away in the night. Let us vote, said the council speaker, an ancient being that looked like a tree with eyes. All in favor of declaring humanity officially extinct? Lights began to glow around the chamber as aliens voted. Green lights meant yes. Red lights meant no. Blue lights meant the voter was not sure. Kang Wu watched as more and more green lights appeared. His heart felt heavy as he counted them. The final count appeared on the big screen above the chamber. 847 votes for yes, 23 votes for no. 56 aliens chose not to vote. It was official. According to the galaxy, humans no longer existed. The motion passes, the council speaker announced. Humanity is officially extinct. Their territories will be transferred to the Velthari within 1 standard year. Aliens began to leave the chamber talking about other business. For them, this was just another day. For Kang Wu, it was the day his species was erased from history. He followed the crowd toward the exit, but stopped when he heard Velthari talking to another member of her species. They spoke in their own language, but Kang Wu had learned it during his years of hiding. The plan worked perfectly, Velthari said. No one suspects the truth about the Crimson Death. What about the survivors? The other Velthari asked. A few thousand humans hiding in the dark corners of space. They will die soon enough. Without their homeworlds, they have no power, no resources. They are just ghosts now. Kang Wu felt anger burn in his chest, but he kept walking. He had heard enough. The Velthari had not just stolen human worlds. They had murdered his people and made it look like a natural disaster. They were not the peaceful helpers everyone thought they were. In his small room on a cargo ship docked at the station, Kang Wu sent a secret message using codes only humans knew. The message traveled through hidden networks to human survivors scattered across the galaxy. The message was short but important. They think we are dead, use this. The war begins now. Dr. Park Hana received the message while working in her laboratory, hidden inside what looked like an empty asteroid. She read it 3 times before understanding what it meant. The galaxy thought humans were extinct. That meant they could move without being watched. They could plan without being stopped. She looked at the weapon designs on her computer screen. For 3 years, she had been working on something that could fight back against the ones who destroyed Earth. Now she knew who the real enemy was. Far away on Nexus Prime, Velthari stood at a window looking out at the stars. Soon all those stars would belong to her people. The humans had been the biggest threat to Velthari expansion. With them gone, nothing could stop the Velthari from becoming the most powerful species in the galaxy. She did not know that in the darkness between the stars, human eyes were watching. Human minds were planning. Human hearts were filled with the desire for justice. The galaxy had declared humanity extinct. Soon they would learn their mistake. Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the main window. His ship looked like an old cargo hauler from the outside. Rust covered its hull and several parts seemed ready to fall off. But inside, the ship was full of the most advanced human technology still working in the galaxy. "Captain, we have a signal," said his communications officer, a young woman named Kim Ara. "It's the code from the refugee camp on Titan 7. Lee Jun nodded. Another group of human survivors needed rescue. For 3 years, he had been running the most dangerous job in the galaxy, saving humans who were supposed to be dead. "How many this time?" he asked. 47 people, including 12 children, Kim Ara replied. "They say Velthari patrol ships are getting closer to their hiding place." Lee Jun felt the familiar anger rise in his chest. The Velthari were not content with just declaring humans extinct. They were actively hunting down the survivors, making sure their lie became truth. "Set course for Titan 7, he ordered, "and send a message to Engineer Yoon-suki. Tell her we need the cargo bay ready for passengers." In the lower part of the ship, Yoon-suki was already preparing. She had been working on human ships since she was 15 years old. Now at 32, she could fix anything that flew, floated, or fought. Her hands moved quickly over the control panels, making sure the life support systems could handle 47 more people. "Suki, we have a problem," called out Medic Choi Don from across the cargo bay. "I just got a message from Dr. Park Hana. She says the Crimson Death was not a natural disease." Yoon-suki stopped working and looked at her friend. Choi Don was the best doctor left alive among the human survivors. If she was worried, there was a good reason. "What do you mean, not natural?" Yoon-suki asked. "Dr. Park found proof that someone made the disease in a laboratory. Someone wanted to kill all humans, and they created the perfect weapon to do it." The words hit Yoon-suki like a punch to the stomach. All this time, they had thought they were unlucky. Bad things happen sometimes, even to entire species. But this was different. This was murder. "Who would do such a thing?" she whispered. "Dr. Park thinks it was the Velthari," Choi Don said. "She found chemical markers in the disease that match Velthari biotechnology." Meanwhile, far away in her hidden laboratory, Dr. Park Hana stared at the evidence on her computer screen. The proof was clear, but she almost could not believe it. The Velthari, who everyone thought were peaceful and helpful, had created a weapon designed to kill only humans. But that was not the worst part. As she studied the disease more carefully, she discovered something else. The Velthari had not just killed humans randomly. They had been planning this for years, maybe decades. They had studied human biology, learned how humans lived and breathed and fought disease. Then they had created the perfect killer. "Computer, show me the historical records," she said aloud. Numbers and dates appeared on her screen. Dr. Park studied them carefully, looking for patterns. What she found made her hands shake. In the past 100 years, 7 other species had been declared extinct by the Galactic Council. All of them had died from mysterious diseases that seemed to come from nowhere. All of them had possessed technology or resources that the Velthari wanted. Computer, cross-reference the extinction dates with Velthari territorial expansion. New information appeared. Every time a species went extinct, the Velthari gained new territory within 1 or 2 years. They always volunteered to clean up the empty worlds, and they always found reasons why other species should not be allowed to settle there. Dr. Park felt sick to her stomach. The Velthari were not peaceful helpers. They were the galaxy's most successful killers, and they had been hiding it for a century. She started to record a message to send to other human survivors, but stopped when her computer detected something else. Hidden in the genetic code of the Crimson Death was a weakness. The disease was designed to shut down if it detected a specific quantum frequency. It was like a secret off switch that only the creators knew about. That's how they protected themselves, she whispered to herself. They made sure they could stop the disease before it spread to their own people. But if the Velthari had a quantum frequency that could stop their weapons, maybe that same frequency could be used against them. Dr. Park began to work on a new project, something that might turn the Velthari's own technology against them. Back on Captain Lee Jun's ship, the rescue mission was complete. 47 human survivors were now safe, at least for the moment. They sat in the cargo bay, sharing stories of how they had hidden from the Velthari patrols. "They came to our asteroid mine 3 days ago," said an old man named Park Gibong. "They were looking for dangerous materials left behind by humans. But I saw what they really took. Our quantum processors, our energy cells, all the good stuff. They're not just hunting us," said a young woman holding a baby. "They're stealing everything humans ever built." Captain Lee Jun listened to their stories and felt his anger grow stronger. The Velthari were not just murderers. They were thieves, taking human technology and probably using it to make themselves more powerful. Engineer Yoon Suki had an idea. "Captain, what if we could turn the tables? We've been running and hiding for 3 years. Maybe it's time to start fighting back." "With what?" Lee Jun asked. "We have a few old ships and some weapons. They have the entire galaxy believing we're dead." "That's exactly why we can win," Yoon Suki said with a smile. "Dead people can go anywhere, do anything. No one is watching for ghosts." Medic Choi Don nodded. "Dr. Park's research could give us the weapons we need. And if we're careful, we can start hitting back without anyone knowing it's us." Lee Jun thought about this. For 3 years, human survivors had been focused on staying alive. But maybe survival was not enough anymore. Maybe it was time to seek justice for the billions of humans who had died. "Send a message to all human groups," he ordered. "Tell them we're calling a meeting. It's time to stop running and start planning." As his ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying its precious cargo of survivors to safety, Lee Jun looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the Velthari thought they had won. They thought humans were just a bad memory soon to be forgotten. They were about to learn that some memories have teeth. In her laboratory, Dr. Park Hana made a breakthrough. The quantum frequency that controlled the Crimson Death could be modified and weaponized. Instead of stopping a disease, it could disrupt Velthari biotechnology. It could turn their own enhanced biology against them. She smiled as she began to design the weapon. The Velthari had tried to erase humanity from existence. Soon they would discover that humans were very hard to kill, and even harder to forget. Historian Kim Taeyang floated in zero gravity inside the archive ship called Memory Keeper. Around him, thousands of data crystals glowed softly in the darkness. Each crystal contained the history of a different species, collected over millions of years. Most people thought the ship was just an old library. They did not know it was humanity's most important secret weapon. "Computer, show me all species declared extinct by the Galactic Council in the last 100 years, Kim Taeyang said. A holographic display appeared in front of him. 8 names glowed in red letters. Humans were the newest addition to the list. The others had been declared extinct decades ago. Kim Taeyang studied each name carefully. The Drakmiri, masters of energy manipulation, gone 40 years ago. The Scythic expert biotechnicians vanished 35 years ago. The Morvani, with their advanced stealth technology, disappeared 28 years ago. All of them had been declared extinct after mysterious diseases wiped them out completely. Computer, show me the territorial changes after each extinction. New information appeared on the display. Kim Taeyang's eyes grew wide as he saw the pattern. Every time a species went extinct, the Velthari gained new territory. They always had good reasons. Someone needed to clean up the empty worlds. Someone needed to contain the dangerous diseases. Someone needed to study what went wrong. It's not possible, Kim Taeyang whispered to himself. They couldn't have killed 8 different species. But the evidence was right in front of him. The Velthari had been committing genocide for an entire century, and no one had noticed because they made it look like natural disasters. Kim Taeyang sent an urgent message to the Human Resistance Network. Within hours, his discovery reached Captain Lee Jun, Dr. Park Hana, and every other human survivor in the galaxy. Pilot Shinari received the message while hiding her small fighter ship in the shadow of a Velthari space station. She was the best pilot the human resistance had, specializing in missions that required getting into places where humans were not supposed to exist. 7 other species, she said to herself as she read Kim Taeyang's report. If they're really all dead, then we're fighting alone. But what if some of them survived just like we did? Shinari had been planning to steal supplies from the Velthari station. Now she had a new mission. She needed to get inside their computer networks and find out what really happened to the other extinct species. Her ship was almost invisible, covered in technology stolen from the Morvani before they disappeared. She flew carefully between the station's sensor beams using every trick she had learned in 3 years of hiding. The station's docking bay was busy with Velthari ships coming and going. Shinari waited until a large cargo ship blocked the sensors, then slipped inside like a shadow. Her ship attached itself to the station's hull where no one would think to look. Getting inside the station was harder. Shinari had to crawl through maintenance tunnels for 2 hours, avoiding security cameras and patrol guards. Her small size helped. She could fit through spaces that would trap a larger person. The computer center was heavily guarded, but Shinari had prepared for this. She used a device that made Velthari security cameras see empty corridors instead of her moving through them. It was technology that Dr. Park Hana had reverse-engineered from captured Velthari equipment. Inside the computer center, Shinari connected her data extractor to the main network. The device looked like a small metal spider, and it moved through the Velthari computer systems without being detected. What she found made her stomach turn. The Velthari had detailed files on all the extinct species, including videos of their final days. The diseases were not random. They were carefully designed weapons, each one created specifically to kill one type of alien. But the worst discovery was in a file marked Resource Integration Project. The Velthari had not just killed the other species. They had captured survivors and used them for experiments. They studied how each species' biology worked, then took the best parts for themselves. They're not just murderers, Shinari whispered. They're cannibals. The files showed that the Velthari had given themselves the Drakmiri ability to manipulate energy, the Scythex skill with biotechnology, and the Morvani stealth capabilities. They had literally consumed their victims to make themselves stronger. Shinari downloaded everything she could find, but then the security system detected her presence. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. Time to go, she said to herself, disconnecting her equipment and running for the maintenance tunnels. Velthari guards flooded the computer center just as Shinari disappeared into the walls. She crawled through the tunnels as fast as she could, listening to the sounds of angry aliens searching for her. Her ship was still attached to the station's hull, but now the entire area was under lockdown. Patrol ships circled the station like angry wasps looking for any sign of an intruder. Shinari waited in her ship for 3 hours, not moving, barely breathing. Finally, when the patrols moved to search another part of space, she detached from the station and slipped away into the darkness. The information she had stolen reached the human resistance within days. General Nam Hyunwoo, the highest-ranking military officer to survive the Crimson Death, studied the files with growing excitement. This changes everything, he told the other resistance leaders during a secret meeting on an abandoned space station. The Velthari have been absorbing the abilities of extinct species. That means they have weaknesses from those species too. Dr. Park Hana nodded. If they took Drakmiri energy manipulation abilities, they also took Drakmiri vulnerabilities. If they absorbed Scythec biotechnology, they inherited Scythec genetic instabilities. More importantly, added Captain Lee Jun, if there are survivors from the other species, they might want revenge just as much as we do. General Nam Hyunwoo smiled for the first time in years. It's time to start looking for our allies. The Velthari thought they were making themselves stronger by absorbing other species. Instead, they've created the perfect weapon to use against themselves. Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of space, small groups of aliens lived in hiding. A few dozen Drakmiri worked in an abandoned mining station, using their energy powers to stay hidden from sensors. Some Scythic survivors had built a secret laboratory inside a hollow asteroid, continuing their research in genetics and medicine. A handful of Morvani lived on a cloaked ship that moved constantly through space, never staying in one place long enough to be found. All of them had received Shin Nari's stolen data. All of them now knew the truth about what had happened to their people. And all of them were angry. Commander Kang Wu, still disguised as a Kepler alien, stood in another Galactic Council meeting. This time, the Velthari were discussing their plans to expand into 3 more star systems. They spoke about helping younger species develop their potential and bringing order to chaotic regions of space. Kang Wu knew what those words really meant. The Velthari had chosen their next victims. 3 more species would soon be declared extinct, their worlds empty, their people dead or captured for experiments. But this time, someone would be watching. This time, someone would be ready to fight back. As the meeting ended, Kang Wu sent another coded message to the human resistance. The message was simple. They're planning to strike again. Time is running out. In her laboratory, Dr. Park Hana put the finishing touches on her quantum frequency weapon. It was designed to disrupt the enhanced biology that the Velthari had stolen from other species. When activated, it would turn their own stolen abilities against them. Just a little longer, she whispered to herself. Soon the galaxy will know the truth. The Velthari thought they had erased 8 species from existence. They thought they had absorbed the best of each one, making themselves the perfect galactic rulers. They had no idea that their victims were still alive, still fighting, and now working together. The extinct species were about to rise from the grave, and they were very, very angry. Operation Phoenix began at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time, across 12 different star systems. To anyone watching, it looked like the worst day in Velthari history. Power failures, equipment malfunctions, and mysterious accidents struck their facilities all at the same time. Captain Lim Ji-young's ship approached the Velthari homeworld hidden inside a large asteroid that Morvani cloaking technology made invisible to sensors. Her crew of 20 volunteers had trained for this mission for months, knowing they might never see home again. Remember, Lim Ji-young told her crew over the ship's communication system, we're not just fighting for humanity, we're fighting for every species the Velthari murdered, and every species they plan to kill. Warrior scientist Velnara sat in the co-pilot's chair, her silver skin darker than usual with stress. She had given up everything to help the extinct species get their revenge. Now she guided them through the security systems of her former people. Take us down to Grid 77 Alpha, she said. There's a maintenance entrance that the main sensors don't cover. I used to work in that building before I learned the truth. On the surface of the Velthari homeworld, chaos was spreading. Ambassador Quorath and his Drakmiri team had overloaded 3 major power stations, plunging entire cities into darkness. Bioengineer Zethmar's genetic viruses were attacking Velthari biotechnology, causing their enhanced organs to malfunction. Shadow Walker Nyla's invisible ships struck military bases and disappeared before anyone could fight back. Supreme Counselor Veltherin stood in the main command center, watching reports of disasters flood in from across Velthari space. His perfect silver skin was marked with dark spots where his stolen biology was failing him. How is this possible? He demanded from his subordinates. All our systems are failing at once. This cannot be a coincidence. Sir, said one of his officers, we're detecting strange quantum frequencies in our communication networks. Something is interfering with our enhanced biology. Veltheron's eyes widened with understanding. The extinct species. Some of them survived. They're using our own technology against us. He activated the emergency protocols that would isolate the Velthari homeworld from the rest of the galaxy. If the extinct species wanted a war, he would give them one. But first, he would activate the Omega Protocol, a weapon that would sterilize every world that had ever been inhabited by non-Velthari life. Begin the final cleansing, he ordered. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one can have it. Captain Lim Ji-young's team reached the command center just as Veltherin was preparing to activate his doomsday weapon. They fought their way through corridors filled with Velthari guards whose enhanced abilities were failing them. The quantum frequency is working, reported Engineer Yoon Suki over the radio. Their stolen biology is turning against them. They're getting weaker by the minute. Dr. Park Hana carried her quantum frequency weapon through the battle, protected by human soldiers who knew this was their last chance to save the galaxy. The weapon needed to be connected directly to the Veltari main communication array to reach every member of their species across space. Velnara led them through secret passages she remembered from her time working in the building. "The communication center is just ahead," she said. "But Veltheron will have sealed it off. We'll have to fight our way in." The battle for the communication center was fierce but short. The Velthari guards were weakening as their stolen abilities failed them. The Drakmiri energy powers they had absorbed were burning them from the inside. The Scythic biotechnology was causing their organs to reject each other. The Morvani stealth modifications were making parts of their bodies fade away permanently. "Now," Captain Lim Ji-young shouted. Dr. Park Hana connected her weapon to the main communication array. The quantum frequency spread through Velthari networks instantly, reaching every member of their species in the galaxy. Wherever they were, whatever they were doing, the stolen biology they had taken from extinct species began to fail. But Veltheron had one last card to play. Even as his own body began to break down, he reached for the controls of the Omega Protocol. If he could activate it, every planet that had ever hosted non-Velthari life would be destroyed. "Stop him!" Velnara screamed, throwing herself at her former leader. The two Velthari fought while their bodies fell apart around them. Veltharon's stolen Drakmiri strength battled against Velnara's desperate determination. Around them, the command center filled with smoke as overloaded systems began to explode. Dr. Park Hana saw what was happening. The doomsday weapon was almost ready to fire. In a few seconds, it would send sterilization pulses to hundreds of worlds, killing billions of innocent people. She made a decision that would save the galaxy and cost her everything. Dr. Park Hana pulled out her backup quantum frequency generator and connected it directly to her own nervous system. The massive energy surge would destroy her, but it would also create a feedback loop that would permanently disable all Velthari biotechnology. "Tell my family I died fighting," she said to Captain Lim Ji-young, then activated the device. The explosion of quantum energy fried every piece of Velthari technology in the command center. The Omega Protocol shut down permanently. Veltheron collapsed as his stolen biology finally failed completely. Across the galaxy, every Velthari fell unconscious as their enhanced abilities disappeared forever. Dr. Park Hana died with a smile on her face, knowing she had saved the galaxy. 3 months later, President Han Sunwoo stood before the reformed Galactic Council. Around him sat representatives from hundreds of species, including several who had been declared extinct decades ago. "Today, we officially return from the dead," President Han Sunwoo announced. "Humanity, the Drakmiri, the Sithek, the Morvani, and 4 other species were never truly extinct. We survived in secret while the Velthari tried to erase us from history. The evidence of Velthari crimes was overwhelming. Video records, genetic analysis, and testimony from warrior scientist Velnara proved that they had been committing genocide for over a century. The Velthari territories will be returned to the species they stole them from," the council speaker announced. "The Velthari themselves will be relocated to a single quarantine system where they will live without access to biotechnology or space travel." It was not death, but it was justice. The Velthari, who had tried to become the galaxy's only advanced species, were now reduced to the level of a pre-spaceflight civilization. Admiral Song Mirai took command of the new Galactic Defense Force, made up of representatives from all the formerly extinct species. Their mission was to watch for any other species that might try to commit genocide, and to protect younger civilizations from suffering the same fate. Captain Lim Ji-young was promoted to admiral and given command of the fastest ships in the galaxy. Her job was to search for any other survivors from supposedly extinct species who might still be hiding in the dark corners of space. Commander Kang Wu finally removed his disguise and returned to his human appearance. He became the head of Galactic Intelligence, making sure that no one would ever again be able to murder an entire species and cover it up. Engineer Yoon Suki built monuments on every world that had been touched by the Velthari genocide. Each monument carried the names of the billions who had died, and a promise that they would never be forgotten. Medic Choi Dawn established medical centers throughout the galaxy, dedicated to healing the survivors of the extinct species and helping them rebuild their populations. The galaxy learned a new phrase in the years that followed. Remember the extinct ones. It was said whenever someone suggested that one species was better than another, or that some people deserved to die for the good of others. Warrior scientist Velnara lived the rest of her life working to heal the damage her people had caused. She helped establish new settlements for the formerly extinct species, and spent decades teaching the galaxy about the warning signs of genocide. On the former Velthari homeworld, now called Redemption, the surviving Velthari lived simple lives as farmers and craftspeople. Their children grew up learning about the terrible things their ancestors had done, and promising never to repeat those mistakes. Sometimes, visitors to Redemption asked why the extinct species had not simply killed all the Velthari in revenge. The answer was always the same: because we are not like them. We choose to be better. The galaxy never forgot the lesson of the Velthari. No species was ever declared extinct again without multiple independent investigations. The extinct species became the guardians of the weak, making sure that genocide could never again hide behind bureaucracy and lies. And in space museums throughout the galaxy, holographic displays told the story of Dr. Park Hana, who died to save billions of lives she would never meet. Her last words were carved into monuments in 100 different languages. "Tell my family I died fighting." The Velthari had declared humanity extinct, thinking they had won the greatest victory in galactic history. Instead, they had awakened sleeping dragons who refused to stay dead. The extinct ones had risen from the grave, and the galaxy was safer because of their sacrifice. The secret meeting took place in an abandoned space station that had been drifting in empty space for 50 years. No one claimed it, no one visited it, and no one would think to look for anything important there. It was the perfect place for the impossible to happen. Admiral Song Mirai stood at the head of a large table, looking at faces she had never expected to see. To her left sat Ambassador Korath, a Drakmiri whose blue skin crackled with barely controlled energy. To her right was bioengineer Zethmar, one of the last Scythek, whose forearms moved constantly as he adjusted medical equipment. Across from them sat Shadow Walker Neela, a Morvani whose body seemed to fade in and out of visibility, even when she was trying to stay solid. 2 months ago, we all thought we were the last of our kinds, Admiral Song Mirai said. Today we learn that we are not alone in our suffering, and we are not alone in our desire for justice. The other survivors around the table nodded. Representatives from 7 supposedly extinct species had gathered for the first time in galactic history. Humans, Drakmiri, Scythek, Morvani, and 4 others whose names the galaxy had forgotten. "The Velthari killed billions of our people," said Ambassador Korath, his voice crackling with energy. "They stole our technology, our biology, our very essence. They must pay for their crimes." Bioengineer Zethmar held up a datapad with shaking hands. "I have analyzed the genetic modifications the Velthari made to themselves. They took the best parts of each of our species and combined them into their own biology. But they made a mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Admiral Song Mirai asked. "They took our strengths, but they also took our weaknesses," Zethmar explained. "Every species has genetic vulnerabilities. The Velthari now have all of them." Dr. Park Hana leaned forward in her chair. "I've been working on a quantum frequency weapon that targets those vulnerabilities. With help from all of your people, we can make it much more powerful." Shadow Walker Nyla spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The Morvani cloaking technology can hide your weapon until it's too late for them to stop it. We have ships they cannot see, cannot track, cannot find. And the Drakmiri can power it," added Ambassador Korath. "Our energy manipulation abilities are stronger than what the Velthari stole from us. We kept some secrets even from ourselves." Around the table, other survivors began to share what they could offer. The Ythori had developed new forms of space travel that left no trace. The Cathari possessed biotechnology that could heal any injury. The Feln had weapons that could destroy ships without harming the people inside. "This is bigger than revenge," Admiral Song Mirai realized. "We can save the galaxy from the Velthari, but we need to move fast." General Nam Hyunwoo activated a holographic display showing Velthari territory. "Our intelligence shows that they're planning to eliminate 3 more species within the next 6 months. The Sithari, who grow food for half the galaxy, the Bendi, who control the main trade routes, and the Orville, who make the medicines that keep dozens of species healthy. If they succeed, Dr. Park Hana said, the Velthari will control food, trade, and medicine. The rest of the galaxy will have to obey them or starve. Bioengineer Zethmar studied the display with his large, compound eyes. We cannot let that happen. But we also cannot reveal ourselves too early. If the Velthari learn that we still exist, they will create new weapons to finish us off. Then we strike simultaneously, Admiral Song Mirai decided. Hit their facilities across the galaxy at the same time. Make it look like random attacks, system failures, accidents. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late. The plan they developed was called Operation Phoenix, the Rise of the Dead. Each extinct species would use their unique abilities to attack different parts of the Velthari Empire. The humans would target their military bases. The Drakmiri would overload their power systems. The Scythek would introduce genetic viruses into their biotechnology. The Morvani would sabotage their stealth ships. But the most important part of the plan would happen on the Velthari homeworld itself. Someone needs to get inside their main command center, Admiral Song Mirai explained. Dr. Park's quantum weapon has to be deployed from their own communication networks to reach every Velthari in the galaxy. I'll go, said Captain Lim Ji-young, the best human ship commander still alive. My crew has been planning a raid on their homeworld for months. This just gives us a better reason. Warrior scientist Velnara, the only Velthari in the room, spoke up for the first time. She had defected after learning the truth about her people's crimes, and her silver skin was now marked with scars that showed her rejection of her former life. I can get you inside, she said. I know the security codes, the patrol schedules, the hidden entrances. I can make sure you reach the command center. The other survivors looked at her with suspicion. How could they trust someone whose people had committed genocide against them? I know you don't trust me, Velnara continued. I don't trust myself, but I have seen what my people have become. They are not the beings I grew up believing they were. They are monsters, and monsters must be stopped. Admiral Song Mirai studied the Velthari woman carefully. Why should we believe you won't betray us? Because they will kill me too, Velnara replied. When they learn that I helped you, I will become extinct as well. I have nothing left to lose. Dr. Park Hana made the final decision. We need her help. Without inside knowledge, we might fail. And if we fail, the next 3 species to be declared extinct might actually stay dead. Over the next month, the extinct species worked together to prepare for Operation Phoenix. They shared technology that had been lost to the galaxy for decades. The Drakmiri taught humans how to manipulate energy without machines. The Scythek showed the Morvani how to create biological computers that could think faster than any artificial intelligence. The humans shared their stubborn refusal to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. Commander Kang Wu, still disguised and still attending Galactic Council meetings, sent regular updates about Velthari plans. The enemy was moving faster than expected. They had already begun releasing new diseases toward the Sithari homeworld. Time was running out. We launch Operation Phoenix in 72 hours, Admiral Song Mirai announced during the final planning meeting. Every extinct species will rise from the dead at exactly the same moment. The galaxy will learn that reports of our deaths were greatly exaggerated. Captain Lim Ji-young prepared her ship for the most dangerous mission in human history. Her crew of volunteers knew they might not survive. But they also knew they were fighting for every species the Velthari had murdered, and every species they planned to kill. Dr. Park Hana completed her quantum frequency weapon. It was small enough to fit in a backpack, but powerful enough to affect every Velthari in the galaxy. When activated through their own communication networks, it would turn their stolen biology against them. Shadowwalker Neela and her Morvani companions prepared their cloaked ships. They would strike Velthari facilities without being seen, creating confusion and fear among their enemies. Ambassador Quorath gathered the surviving Drakmiri for their part in the plan. They would overload Velthari power systems across 12 star systems, making their weapons and shields useless. Bioengineer Zethmar finished preparing genetic viruses that would attack the Velthari biotechnology. Their own enhanced biology would become their weakness. As the extinct species prepared for war, the Velthari continued their plans to eliminate 3 more civilizations. They had no idea that their victims were watching, waiting, and planning to strike back. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn that extinction was not always permanent. Sometimes the dead came back angry.